This is the 2017 Apple iPad 9.7 inch. As a successor to the Apple iPad Air 2, does this warrant an upgrade from the Air 2, or are you just looking for a brand new iPad? This one might be right up your alley. At $329 for a 32GB and 128GB for $429, this iPad might offer the value you've been looking for. Let's find out if it's worth it for you here in this review. Coming up right now, let's go. So kicking things off, let's talk about the key specifications. We have a 9.7 inch Retina display that's 1536 by 2048, an 8 megapixel camera that's a 1080p shooter in video, Apple A9 CPU with 2 gigs of RAM, and an 8827 milliamp hour battery that Apple claims gets at least 10 hours or better for this iPad. Now on the front of the device, we are going to reveal ourselves that full Retina display here, the same that we have found in previous iPads on the iPad Pro and the Air 2, just no optically laminated display anymore for this guy. The display gets plenty sharp. If you look closely, we have well over 200 pixels per inch here for this Retina display, so it looks pretty great on all viewing angles. Like I say, there is a little bit of a gap between the display and the actual iPad because it's not laminated anymore, but it is okay, and it's nothing you're not going to notice unless you're really looking for it and nitpicking this display. But overall, it's pretty enjoyable, similar to all the other iPads in the lineup overall. Now, in terms of reading text, it should be just pleasurable here on the 2017 iPad, and you do have the option to go ahead and brighten the sky up to well over 500 nits. So this is the same level of brightness as the iPad Pro and brighter than the iPad Air. And also, you do not have True Tone display, so that's kind of a bummer. Now, on the front lower portion, you do have a first generation Touch ID scanner, which works flawlessly and it's fast enough. It's not second gen, but it works great enough. Kicking it over to the right side, we do find ourselves the volume controls with no mute switch anymore, and we do have an 8 megapixel f2.4 lens and microphone hole that shoots in at 1080p on that camera, the Apple logo in all its silver polished glory, and at the bottom you can see the iPad insignia right there. At the bottom we have mono stereo speakers, so not the full dual 4-channel speakers, but we do have 2 speakers at the bottom, which is nice. Now at the top we do have our power button and nothing along the left side of this iPad, and we do retain the 3.5mm headset jack as well as another microphone hole right there. At the front side we do have ourselves that 1.2 megapixel front facing camera, which is similar to the one on the SE as well as the 5S. Now going into general, we are running iOS 10.3, and this iPad should be updated to the latest versions of iOS well into the future, as it does support 64-bit 3rd generation A9 CPU. So iOS 10 does bring all of its great features, as well as the new control center, the new design UI, as well as the iMessaging features for the iPad. So it does work pretty great here on this iPad as well. Now in terms of a real world performance, let's check it out right here. So I'm going to hop into some few apps and just kind of look at the general user interface to see how this actually performs, and you can see there is absolutely zero lag on this iPad, as we would expect. iPad has been legendary for having no lag, all the way back to even the Apple iPad Air 2. Even the first iPad didn't have much lag at all, and it continues here well into 2017. You see, going into your everyday apps is going to be no issue at all, and even heavier tasks shouldn't be any issue here for the 2017 Apple iPad. That A9 CPU, while it might not be as good as the A9X as well as the A10, it's a very strong CPU nonetheless. So you can see you can pretty much multitask and do anything you would ever want to do here for this iPad. Even gaming is going to be pretty strong here for this iPad, and this is why it's going to make a great tablet for those parents who want to buy their kids a gaming tablet, or for those adults who just love gaming and they want to game on a tablet. This is going to run pretty flawlessly. Even the frame rates look great here, and you can see I'm loading up Grand Theft Auto San Andreas to give an example of that. The graphical power of this tablet reminds me a lot of what I had on my iPad Pro, and honestly, to my eye, I couldn't see much of a difference, even though it might be slightly better there on the Apple iPad Pro. But if you want to see a full gaming review between those guys, let me know down below in the comment section of this video. But like I say, gaming is going to be strong here for this Apple iPad as well. But for those of you who want to see more raw numbers, let's just take a look at a Geekbench 4 score. So I'm going to go ahead and run this CPU benchmark to see what this iPad 2017 does pull in. So I'm running the benchmark and you can see a 2550 on the single core and a 4444 for the multi-core score here on the iPad. So that's right in between like the iPad Pro as well as like an iPhone SE, something like that. So it's really a solid performer overall. Now that camera, that 8 megapixel camera I've said a couple of times in this video, does shoot actually surprisingly decent photos outside, and that front-facing 1.2 megapixel camera also shoots acceptable photos. I know it doesn't sound great on paper. I'm going to show you a couple of examples here in just a second, but in terms of the software, Apple does have live photos here, HDR modes, timers, as well as easy options to flip back and forth. You do have photo square modes, you do have pano and time lapse, and much more. So great software here for taking pictures, very easy and simple to use here on the Apple iPad 2017. Now going into the photos and camera, you can see that we only can shoot in up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. So for those video buffs out there, this is probably not the tablet to do it with, even though it shoots solid video. Let's take a look at the examples now. So this is the front-facing camera of the 2017 iPad. I am in the garage, so it's a little bit lower light here. I'm going to step outside for just a bit, and you could see that the quality does increase just a little bit here outdoors, and it's okay. It's not the greatest. Let me know your thoughts on this one down below. So here is a look at the rear-facing video of the iPad. You can see right here, if I look up on the camera, you can see not too shabby in terms of the quality coming up here on the car light. You can see if you're outdoors, you can get some pretty nice video quality here from the rear. Very similar to what you're going to find maybe like an iPhone 6 from the rear, maybe a 5S. So not bad at all. So what about battery life on the Apple iPad for 2017? And the battery life Apple states is about 10 hours, and they are right on the money in my experience. Actually, it went 11 to 12 hours in my use case for the Apple iPad. So you're going to be happy with the battery life here for the iPad, just no low battery power mode. Now on the bottom, we do have these speakers, which is, you know, a questionable thing that people have been worrying about, but let's check them out here.
2017 $329 iPad unboxing and first impressions coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? This is Nick here from Everything Tech, help you to master your technology, and welcome to the 2017 iPad. Now basically this is a $329 iPad. It's basically the tablet equivalent to the iPhone S. So how has the real world usage been for the iPad 2017? Now I do use an iPad Pro and I did a comparison video, but I gotta tell you, overall this tablet does not feel like it cuts as many corners as you might think, and it feels premium in every regard. I think in the real world it performs just as snappy as about any other iOS product, that's including the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. This device, an A9 CPU, is very powerful, and in day-to-day I was able to play games, browse the web, use the camera, and everything just worked pretty greatly. So I was very impressed with the level of performance in the real world with this product, and it felt very premium on the body as well. A little bit thicker than most people have come to be used to with the iPad Air 2 as well as the Pro, but overall it's stellar, I think, for its price point. So I've been very happy with my real world use of the iPad from 2017. So wrapping this video up, who is the 2017 iPad for?
This iPad is for people who don't want to invest in the older Apple iPad Air 2, but they also don't want to invest in the pricier Apple iPad Pro. It does take a step back in a couple of areas, such as the non-laminated display, no flash on the rear camera, no stereo speakers, but it has all of the core essentials that make an iPad what an iPad is, and that's the beautiful large retina display, incredible battery life, as well as decent cameras, and it runs iOS efficiently and will be updated well into the future, making this a computer that might be able to replace a laptop if you're a light user, not a heavy user, of course there. Now, this also can be for that parent who wants to buy their child a tablet and they're looking for something that is not too pricey but also runs very well and will make their child extremely happy. This will be for you. But anyway, that's gonna wrap this video up for me. If you guys enjoyed it, go ahead and do me a favor and click the like button for me. It would be very appreciated if you went ahead and did that, and subscribe to the channel for more technology videos like this. Be sure to be well. Nick here, and peace.